but now it's sitting at 14 and a half.
But even if it's not that big of a jump, you could tell all the money is going towards
Of
Washington, obviously,
course,
because they said 10
bumping
points.
up,
That's it for a top
bumping
10
up the
team.
line.
Now Boise State, with that initial line, of course, of a line of 10, they are a respected Mountain West program, and this is a team that is going to be competitive pretty much year in and year out. So now, do I see Washington still covering that number, even if it moves to 14? I would probably lean that way as well because I love their offense. Roma, I always forget how to say his name. Romo, I'm going to call him right now because now the pronunciation has slipped my mind, but he's a top tier receiver for them. Obviously, Michael Penix Jr., he had his college revival. I think we mentioned this last week as well. He is a fantastic quarterback in a big quarterback heavy conference in the Pac-12. You know, the rest in peace to the Pac-12 at this point. But I would say Washington's going to show up this weekend and say, don't forget about us. We're a playoff dark horse for a reason. We're here to win the Pac-12 this year, and we're going to show it by scoring. You know, they'll put up 45, 50 points. I can easily see that.
Roma Dunzi.
That's it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Forgot the pronunciation right there.
Ridiculous last year. Almost 1,200 yards, average 16, 75 receptions, 7 touchdowns. A couple more, and again, nothing like, just, Michigan's laying 36 against ECU. We'll see you next week on that one.
The only storyline there, Rich, is it's game one without Jim Harbaugh. We talked about this before. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
If that game ends up being too close for comfort, that's not a Harbaugh issue to me. That's a Michigan problem. It's like, all right, what is going? Yeah, it's either what's going on with the defense or why is the offense not clicking. It's going to be one of those questions if it's close, but I don't expect it to be close at all.
No. Listen, the marquee game, and I'm happy it's on a Sunday, is LSU and Florida State.
You get that isolated, and it's similar to last year. They open up at a neutral site. Love that one, top 10 matchup, and I said this a couple of years ago. This was the 2021 season. Georgia, if you remember, Georgia and Clemson opened up the season. And that was I believe it was a 10-3 ball game.
Yep.
Georgia won. I said then the winner of that game will have the inside track to the playoff. The loser of that game, first game of the year, I said loser will not make the college football playoff. Now, there were other extenuating circumstances as to why Clemson did not make the playoff that year, but it turns out I was right about that. I think this game is very, very similar. I know it's a non-conference game, but right. I think if LSU is going to make the college football playoff this year, again, they have to run through the gambit that is the SEC West. They have to beat Alabama again. They're going to have to beat an Ole Miss team that has a solid offense. Obviously, Arkansas is no pushover. Their entire division obviously is no pushover. There's not a single pushover in the SEC for the most part. So if LSU is going to make the playoff, they have to win this football game. I think Florida State is the team that can get away with a loss here. Because Florida State, I think, you hate to call it easy because the ACC is also another conference where you saw the middle tier teams kind of rise closer to the top. The North Carolinas of the world. I think they're very good. But Clemson's obviously still great. But I think Florida State has a better opportunity to get to the ACC title game with a loss via LSU. So at that point, you probably have to win. You basically have to win out because no two-loss teams ever made the playoffs. So either way, the loser of this game is going to have a tough time anyway. But I think LSU has more to lose here if they drop this football game because, again, you have the Alabamas, Ole Miss, you have Mississippi State, you have a tough Arkansas team, Texas A&M, Auburn. This is brutal. It's a brutal schedule by comparison to Florida State. So I would say LSU has more to lose in this game. And it's very tough. I do think LSU is going to win, but this to me, Q, is a very, very big toss-up game. But LSU definitely has more to lose here.
First top 10 matchup in series history. I look at, in the trenches, right? Your LSU offensive line against your Florida State, the defensive front. How disruptive can they be? But I also like Florida's secondary. I think LSU might have a hard time picking these guys off a little bit. So I think you might see a play in the secondary maybe late to preserve the win. I'm actually I'm leaning towards Florida State in this one, but I can appreciate your point. I think though, no matter what, this is kind of a litmus test to see if this is a 31-30, 31-28, Florida State fans don't want to hear this, field goal attempt late, right? It's a litmus test to where both these teams, we project them going forward, if that makes sense. Like, that's why I love this early season test. But I also, to your point, which is it's a good one, you hate getting that early loss like that because then you're like, oh, frig. Now I got to run the table. All the pressure's on.
Yeah. Essentially, if you're losing this first game, you got to win 11 games in a row, pal. That's how you make your conference championship. Now, again, this is not a conference loss, so you can get away with it. But if you have playoff aspirations like both these teams do,
Yes.
maybe you drop a conference game and this game. That's 2 losses. You're not getting the playoff. But barring a bunch of other teams dropping along the way, which we thought we might see a scenario like that last year at one point. But no, you have to win this. Either one, you have to win this football game. If you want to make the Final Four at the end of the year, you have to win this football game. I am going with LSU a little bit, but also on the flip side of things, I am a little bit worried because they don't have Mason Smith, and if you recall, Mason Smith, their one defensive lineman, he was the one suspended for 1 game because he was signing autographs, quote unquote, illegally right before NIL went into effect. And I think I mentioned this last week on your program right here that LSU was doing everything in their power to try to schedule a week 0 game before Florida State to make sure he got suspended for that game so he could play against Florida State. So there's no Mason Smith. Harold Perkins is going to have to shoulder more of the load on defense for LSU, the all-star linebacker. But on the flip side of things, you're talking about defense. You mentioned how LSU's passing offense, could have a little trouble against Florida State. Watch out for Jared Verse, man. He's going to be after Jaden Daniels from that defensive line. You have to watch out. If LSU has no answer for him up front, he can make the day really, or the night really, really long for Jaden Daniels. But I mean, I am going to lean towards LSU right now. I do think they're going to come away with the win here.
Which then ultimately, think about it, if they can't really throw and be pass happy, they're going to have to run the football. LSU's has won 12 straight games when they've rushed for over 200 or more yards. They're averaging about 4.8 a clip.
Right.
Entering this season, if you look back to last year. So they've got capable backs. Yeah, I just have a sneaky suspicion it's going to be a turnover late, maybe driving for a winning field goal, but it's a nice marquee matchup early on in the season, kind of all the points that you illustrated. Friday edition of Back Your Play with Q. Rich Quinones here. Our guy Nick Kosko kind enough to join us. All right, so you got the ACC expansion. What is that in your estimation? The add-on Stanford, Cal, SMU. What does that mean?